Hey everybody, it's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and I'm here today to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. It's Tuesday, so you know what that means. We're going to figure out if I'm ready to talk about any of the books that are on this week's pull list. I'm down to one short box instead of two in my to-read pile, so to see if we're ready to talk about books from this week on Shop Talk, at least from my end, y'all check it out after this.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Three quick announcements. Number one, don't forget to comment on this video as I will give away a poster pile, actually two, one from last week and one from this week on this Thursday night Shop Talk. We'll see if Jelly and J1 have recovered from Gorkenfest in California. Number two, I've been going live on Whatnot just about every weekday at 9:30 Central with small little $15 mystery boxes. So if you got nothing better to do, come hang out with me. I think I'm late on Thursday, but I'll be on Friday because I got to take Toby to drama camp, which is super dope. And then third, I'm making a rare cameo on Papa Wheels' Hell on Wheels auction at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on this Saturday. So, come check out my first live YouTube auction in an absurdly amount of long time. But without further ado, let's talk books. So, like I said, I'm still a little behind in terms of my pull list. So I've got Alien Annual number 1. This is a prequel before the Bloodline story that just went down, so I'm all caught up on Aliens, so I'm excited to see what happens in this year's annual and the continuation of this storyline, especially knowing that Predator number 1 is coming out soon, and I'm hoping that we get some Alien versus Predator clashes in Marvel, since I think they've done Alien justice, and if you think I'm wrong, holler at me down below. In terms of Armorclads number 5 from Valiant, I think this is the last book of the series, if not just the arc. I've only read the first two. I've got 3 and 4 ready to go, so I'll be caught up by Wednesday. Same thing is true with Avengers and Black Adam. Next up is Blink number 1 from Oni Press. So I've been trying to pick up Oni Press books, and I'm intrigued to see if we're going to see some changes coming from Oni Press, because as I learned from one of the comic creator discords that I'm in, apparently Oni Press just laid a couple of folks off and scaled back their San Diego Comic-Con appearances, so I don't think that's going to affect this book, but we'll see if it affects things down the road. Next up from Aftershock, we've got Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside number 3. I've enjoyed what's gone on in the first arc of Bunny Mask and the first 2 issues of this series. I feel like the Hollow Inside arc is a little bit more coherent in terms of understanding the relationship between Bunny Mask and the dude, but it's still super trippy. Next up from Aftershock, we've got A Calculated Man number 2. Number 1's in my next 10 to read pile. We've got Catwoman 45, which I'm still behind on. Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter. I love number 1 from this arc. I'm going to make sure I have number 2 read to be able to talk about this on at least Shop Talk, but I love this series so much it could be an outside Dark Horse pick for the weekly picks. Next up from IDW is Dark Spaces Wildfire number 1. So we're getting to watch people fight the Arroyo Fire, which is, I think, the California one, which is based on inmate firefighting. So I want to see how they represent this kind of storytelling, because, ironically enough, 2 years ago, when we were debating criminal justice, my students and I did a lot of research on prisoners who were conscripted into firefighting, so I want to see what this looks like in terms of how they tell the story. From Marvel, we get Deadpool Bad Blood number 3. I've only read the first one. Devil's Highway, I've read the first two. This arc is looking to be as absolutely bonkers as the first one is. So I want to see if they can figure out the connection between all of the corpses that they discovered in issue number 2. Do a Powerbomb number 2. Number 1 is in my next 10 pile. The Flash, I'm behind. It's at the bottom of the stack that I'll get caught up on the Flash before I get caught up on X-Men, because there's one Flash title and 69 420, X-Men titles to read. Same thing with Grimm, that I've read number 1. Number 2 is in my... I think it's in this next wave to read. The Joneses, number 4 from AWA Upshot. I've read the first 2, so I'll make sure I read number 3 by tomorrow. That I've enjoyed this, looking at kind of the spooky Great Death AWA version of The Incredibles. Jurassic League, I'm going to make sure we talk about this on Shop Talk, since number 1 was just oddly good in a terrible B-movie fashion. I haven't read number 2 yet, but this is one that I'm committed to have read by Thursday night. Knights of X, I don't even know if I've read number 1. Garmadon is a Toby book. Toby absolutely loved issue number 1. I think once we finish 2 and 3, I'll have him give you a breakdown of the Garmadon books, and I'm going to make sure everything around here is cleared out, because when he's in the midst of his kinesthetic all over the place play, he's constantly playing Ninjago, so I want to see how he'll bring that story to life for you. Next is the rare Dynamite pickup from me, but this is Madballs versus Garbage Pail Kids number 1. So talk about 80s and early 90s nostalgia porn. These are two of the dumbest things that I love to get into. I am a holder of an NFT that is basically a version of both of these things now. So to see what they look like in, the year of our Lord 2022, I want to see them in a literary battle of the ages. Alright, next up is a 3-pack or more of Marvel that I'm behind on. Miles Morales, I'm at issue 38. I haven't read 1 and 2 of Black, White, and Blood. And New Fantastic Four number 2 is in that next 10 to read stack, so hopefully I'm caught up to be able to talk about this series, because I'm intrigued with a new take on, the composition of the Fantastic Four, in the same way that I was intrigued with what David Pepose was doing with his new combination of folks in Savage Avengers. I'm trying to pick up all of these Roche variants that I like. Some of the simplicity and a lot of the negative white space in the background. Nottingham number 9 is absolutely insane. This is the next to last book of this arc, and you see a desperate partnership come together, and that reminds me that I need to read number 10, which is up on the Mad Cave Hub for people who have press access, because David Hazan is mad that I have not screamed into the void about that issue on the blog yet. I'll try and rectify that by, Thursday morning. Next up from Image, I have enjoyed how they're doing a lot of, the re-release of some of those early 90s issues, Cyberforce and whatnot. Here we're getting a remastered issue of Prophet number 1. So basically, the OG comic from Image is getting a mad touch-up in art, and I'm just excited to see what happens in terms of all of the talented people at Image now, or who still have ties to Image, that what they do to this story. Because if you watched my 10 questions with Small Town Collectibles, when he asked what the most important era of comics was, I said Image kicking it all off in 1992, because it led to a successful birth of indie comics, in my opinion, or a more sustainable model of indie comics in this day and age. We got Savage Spider-Man, I'm behind. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, number 1. I figured I would pull this because we haven't seen a decent Shang-Chi story in a while. The one that came out 2 years ago I thought was okay. She-Hulk number 5. Number 4 is in that next 10 to read pile. Same is true with Silver Coin number 12 and Spider-Gwen, Gwenverse number 3. Our last 2 books, maybe 3. Our last 3 books are Venom Protector, Lethal Protector number 4. I have to read number 3 of that. Age of the Palladians from Aftershock. I have to read number 2 and 3. And I actually think, like, my books for my LCS didn't get shipped from Diamond. Like, their DC titles got there on Tuesday, but everything else didn't show up until Saturday. And I think I picked up Judgment Day number 1. And I think I put it off to the side because I thought I needed to be caught up on at least the Avengers run. But we'll see. So, a little bit of a lighter week than last week, so I won't complain too much about, oh, you can't see because my head's in the way. It's $138 instead of $160. So, cool. Whew! A lot of books, a lot of catching up to do. So make sure to check us out on Shop Talk on this Thursday night, where I am giving away one of my Crypto Cavemen NFTs, because if you commented on last week's NF Thursday video, you're eligible to win one of my cavemen to get you ready for the release of the game in summer of 2022. And I'm also giving away 2 poser piles if you commented on last week's pull list video and you comment on this week's video. From that shit show of a million books, is there anything that I'm missing? If so, let me know in the comments down below. But as always, y'all, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.
Hey, little girl, did you want to know a secret?
I got 5 on it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.